Self-building our own home can feel chaotic at times. There are a lot of half-finished projects, and dealing with the packaging of products becomes a project in itself. Today, I'll be doing some cleanup, giving you a sneak peek of our cool weather crops, and sharing some of the other things that we've been working on. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Elena, and my fiance Alex and I are currently in the process of building our dream homestead from scratch, starting with our house. You might notice that I have this nice red tint on my face, and that is because my grow lights are right here. So I have started a lot of my cool weather crops. That is what is on this rack here. I moved some of them outdoors today while I'm doing some things inside just to get them exposed to some of the wind. I find that moving my seedlings outdoors for a few hours on the days when the weather is more temperate strengthens the plants. With the freezing temperatures still on the forecast, it's too cold to move my plants outdoors full time, but I found that exposing them to the elements in small dosages does help. Continuing to make progress on our homesteading goals while building our home has definitely slowed us down at times. So much plastic. Ugh. So as you can imagine, with any sort of house build, there is usually a lot of waste. And the thing I hate the most is the plastic waste. But luckily we have a facility near us that will take any sort of plastic, even like this kind of banded plastic, which I have no idea where else you could take this. It's really nice because we just put it in a bag and then they take it and recycle it for us. I don't think that we have to use the bags that they provide, but it is a little bit easier to use these. The company that recycles this actually recycles it into an aggregate that then gets put into concrete at a certain percentage. This is the bottom of the bag. That's not going to work, which is a really cool concept for reducing plastic waste because concrete's not the most environmentally friendly product either. So it's kind of cool that they're going to be able to use some of that plastic and put it in the concrete. We could definitely take a break from homesteading so that we could focus on the house and get it finished sooner, but homesteading is my passion and it really fills my cup, so without it, I feel like I would have not much to give if I wasn't feeling energized from homesteading. Our insulation generated a decent amount of plastic. This is the last of it, but we did take all of this to the recycling facility. This plastic can actually go to a Walmart or a grocery store drop-off, but we just take it all to the one facility. It's just easier doing it that way. I found that the easiest way to manage this large, bulky plastic is to kind of fold it up like I would a sheet and just wrap it really tight. This takes up less room whenever we're trying to transport it, and it seemed to work out really well. We actually have not had a dumpster for our entire house build. Alex has done a really good job with our material takeoffs and trying to make them as accurate as possible. And that really helps with limiting the amount of waste that we're producing. Even with the best material takeoffs, you cannot eliminate all of the waste. We had a lot of wood cutoffs when we were framing. We actually were able to save a lot of that. And then a lot of the little off-cut pieces, one of our friends came and picked them up and took them and made art out of them to sell. So that was really cool because we really didn't have a lot of offcuts for the lumber. I mentioned that we try our best to recycle any plastic. The cardboard obviously all goes to recycling, but there are certain things that are just impossible to save, like the backing of tape and stuff like that. Like that has to go in the trash, but we do our best to recycle where we can. This blocking is actually a really good example of how we use some of the smaller pieces of scrap wood. So a lot of times Alex will save even the smallest pieces because we find ourselves using it for miscellaneous things like blocking or other things in the house. So it's really cool that we can put that to use and reuse it. And also a lot of the other lumber that we saved, we could potentially use to build another chicken coop or maybe another structure for animals in the future, something for our homestead. So we don't want to throw that stuff out. I would say that reducing waste is definitely one of our bigger reasons for why we want to homestead and live more sustainably. But even more than that, it's about being resourceful and finding new creative ways to use things that you may have already had laying around or that you can get from someone else that they see as trash. A good example of this is all of our buckets. Most of these have come from a local ice cream shop. We get them in mass quantities for free from that local ice cream shop. And I've heard that you can also get these buckets from like a Walmart bakery or a grocery bakery, but I've never tried it myself. But that's one really cool way to be a little bit resourceful and get something useful for your homestead. I feel like as this video keeps going on, I am stripping down layers because it is a lot warmer in the garage. I had to crank up the heat for our incubator, and I forgot how warm it was in here when I started this video with my jacket and my hat on. So now I am comfortable. Quick update on where I've been with this channel. If you can see behind me, you can see that we now have drywall completely finished with a layer of primer on, and we have just been so incredibly busy between working on the house and managing the stuff we are already doing with content creation for Mason-Dixon Acres. So I just didn't have as much time and energy to give to this channel. But I am really hoping to change that. And you might have noticed from my last video, I'm experimenting with some different forms of content, and you'll probably see that on this channel because the reason why I started this was to connect with other like-minded people, share my passions and interests, and also just have another outlet for creativity and to try different things and see what I enjoy doing. One of the big downsides to being really busy is that it makes it really challenging for me to be creative. I'm a naturally creative person, but I feel like the thing that zaps my creative energy the most is just not having any space to just sit, think, and relax. And thankfully, over the past 2 weeks, we've had a lot more time to do that, where we can work on the project at a slower pace. It's always hard when we have a contractor involved with the project because we feel like we have a deadline, which we do because we've scheduled someone, but we have a deadline that we have to meet. And so in order to meet that, we are somewhat rushing to get things done, which sometimes means working extremely long days, sometimes 16 to 17 hour days, 4 days in a row. And that just does not work for my creativity. And so now that I have some of that mental clarity, I feel a lot better and ready to jump back on to YouTube and experiment more with creating content. Alex really wants me to pick the main color for this entire living space. So I told him that in order to do that, I needed to bring a green cabinet up here to see what it would look like. Here is the green cabinet. It is about 4:30 to 5 p.m. right now. So the sun is over behind the trees on this wall. So we don't have a ton of natural light right now. Also, for some reason on my camera screen, this green looks extremely bright and it does not look that bright in person. I'm not sure why the camera is color correcting and making this super bright. But anyways, it's a sage green cabinet and we picked our hardware. So we're gonna use handles for the drawers, which are most of our base cabinets. And then we're gonna use these really pretty elegant poles on the uppers, and that's anywhere we have a cabinet. The other thing that I have to pick is the flooring tile for the bathroom and the shower. I did have samples of our shower tile up here, but I think Alex might have taken them downstairs. Let me look in the closet. He might have put them there. Okay, cool, I found it. So it's really dark in there. You're not gonna be able to see it super well, but this tile is extremely large tile. This is gonna be on the back wall. It has this wood slat look, but it's all one piece, which I love because there's not gonna be as much grout. And then we're doing this in combination with a beige subway tile, and I'll show you some of that. That is downstairs. Something that no one really prepared me for with building a house, even if we were to hire a builder, is decision fatigue. That is a serious thing when it comes to building a house, especially if you're self-building, because we had to decide things like where exactly we wanted the can lights, what height we wanted outlets at, where we wanted the switches, all of those little tiny details we had to decide, on top of picking the pretty stuff like cabinet hardware, flooring tile, regular flooring, paint colors, all of that. It becomes really overwhelming, especially when you have to make a lot of decisions all at once. So I always try to remind Alex to give me a little bit of grace because, like I said, if I'm super busy or just even overwhelmed in general, I have a hard time being creative, and then also just like seeing a vision for the space. Luckily for most of the rooms, I already have a pretty strong vision of what I want it to look like, but it does make it challenging when he's asking for like specific things of what exact paint color do you want on the walls? And I'm like, I know that I want it to be an off-white, like soft white color, but I don't know exactly which white, and I need to figure that out. But yeah, that's something that you don't get prepared for. So if you are thinking about building a house or self-building a house, keep that in mind. Give yourself some grace, because there are a lot of decisions that have to be made, and it doesn't have to happen overnight. I found the other shower tile, and this is the tile that I really, really love. I don't know what it is about this tile, but ever since I saw it, I was like, yep, that is the one. And so let me lay it out on the ground and show you what it looks like. Once again, the camera is doing a little bit of weird things with the color and making it slightly darker, but it is like this off-white beige tone, and there's different shades throughout the tile. And then it also has like this natural handmade look, but it is porcelain, which we wanted something that was either porcelain or ceramic for easy cleaning and maintenance, and I'm really happy that we found this. We still have a couple of additional decisions to make with this tile, one of those being the exact layout we want. So we could run them stacked like this, where they're in this very formal linear pattern, or I could offset them so they're kind of slightly offset, which I think I like a little bit better. Or I've even seen them offset in a different way, like vertically, where it's kind of like this, and your joints kind of are offset. There are a few options. We have to figure out exactly what we want here, but I think we will wait until we are a little bit closer, and probably wait until we have the exact floor tile we're gonna use as well. In addition to working on a lot of the interior work on the house, we've also been working on a ton of yard cleanup. We had a huge storm come through in August. We think it was a small tornado. I'll share some footage. It was really scary at the time. This is insane.
The tent literally flew about 35 feet in the air.
On August 7, 2023, we experienced one of the most powerful windstorms our area has seen in years, later confirmed to be a tornado. It damaged a large portion of our landscape, our house, and several other items of value.
And we ended up losing about 30 really mature trees. And if you can imagine 30 mature trees being either snapped in half or completely blown over, you can probably envision the amount of mess that we were dealing with. I mean, just look at this huge log stack. You can tell all the ones that came down from the storm because they are still a little bit wet. All of these logs are from that storm. And then as we get further over here, the seasoned wood is from when we originally logged the property for our build site. So we clearly lost a ton of trees during this storm. We initially thought that we were going to tackle a lot of this tree work by ourselves, but what really was the kicker was the fact that a lot of the trees were snapped in half really high up, and you really need either a bucket truck or someone to climb the tree in order to cut it. So we ended up actually calling a local arborist that has dumped chips here before. This is a side tangent, but if you're looking for free mulch, call up a local arborist and they will likely dump it at your site for free. You do run the risk of maybe there being disease carried or bugs or some type of pesticide on those trees, but hopefully if that were the case and the tree person knew about it, they wouldn't even accept the offer to drop it at your place. But I have heard or seen of some horror stories, so just keep that in mind. But back to the original story. So we ended up calling a company and they came out here and helped us for 2 days over the past 2 weeks. and it has been a lifesaver. They have a guy who climbs the trees and cuts them, and man, is that a crazy job. Alex said that the guy absolutely loves it. I didn't get the chance to talk to him that much, but he said he like lives for climbing trees, which is incredible and great for people like us. But it's incredibly dangerous, and I'm so grateful that they were able to come and help. So what are we gonna do with an excessive amount of logs? We are planning to keep all of these logs. They're obviously not going anywhere anytime soon, but we want to set up a regular mill or a chainsaw mill and mill up a lot of that lumber to either use for our own homesteading infrastructure or to build things for other people. So we thought about maybe using those logs to make some extra income here on our homestead. It could be a really cool, fun way to connect with the community and then also sell some stuff that we make. Alex really loves carpentry, so I think that making some really nice custom pieces of furniture would be really fun. But yeah, we have no shortage of lumber, and hopefully we can put it to good use. Another big benefit of hiring the crew out here to come help us is they had a chipper. And this is a huge mound of chips. I'm gonna stand in front of it so you can see for reference. The mound is literally as big as me. Those wood chips are gonna come in handy for a lot of homesteading things, whether we use them in the garden or put them in the chicken run once we move the chickens over here. They are going to be super, super helpful. Initially, Alex was just dumping them into the woods, and I was like, hey, yo, put those in a pile because I can totally use them. Just another example of being resourceful and trying to make use of some of the things that we have. I think he's trying to break the log in half with the skid steer. I think he might have cut it with the chainsaw and is trying to break it. Ninja Man Alex going after it. Oh, his chainsaw's stuck. Don't you just love how I'm narrating this and not helping? Go, baby! Cheering from the sidelines. He can't hear me because he has ear protection on. Wow, it is a lot colder outside than it was a couple days ago. Last week we had a couple days in the 70s, and anytime that happens, it's almost like your body thinks that it's gonna be summer all of a sudden, even though it's still March. And we're expected to have snow this week. So a day like today where it's really cold and brisk, it is a rude awakening that we still have several more weeks of winter. When we had the contractor dump all of the mulch those initial times that he came last year, we actually had spread this out all over this little pad area to keep the mud down during construction. It worked really great, and if you have a big construction project planned, I highly recommend that. We do have final grade happening this week though, so Alex is going to move all of the mulch out of the way, and so that way we can bring in dirt and plant some grass seed. I'm gonna head outside and help Alex. I can't do a ton because I can't even hold a gas saw, but we do have this tiny electric DeWalt saw, which I am trying to find, and I can use that to cut up smaller branches, and then what I do is I pull them out into a big pile. Then he grabs that pile with his grapple and can carry it wherever. So I just gotta find that chainsaw and then I'll head out to help him. Forgot to mention, there's actually two big piles. That was the one. The one to the left is what I showed you earlier. Alex doesn't know where the chainsaw is either, so I'm gonna go look in our little Harbor Freight tent that we have out back. Hopefully it is there. We do store a lot of the outdoor equipment there. Usually not that chainsaw though, because it is electric, but we'll see. Okay. I spy something yellow, but it looks like it's a grease gun. Oh, there it is. There she is, in all her glory. Hold out here. It got dark shortly after this, so I didn't make a ton of progress, but I guess some progress is better than none. So thanks so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment below saying hi. I love to hear from you, and I'll see you on the next one.